point, which I'll still talk about how I shortlisted them. And these schools are just like random schools that pop up from Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or some WhatsApp group. They'll just be like, oh, there's this application fee available. Then attendance like some schools webinars in which you just attending, they'll give you application fee waivers. So I attended all those things and do all those stuff just to get application fee waivers. So if I should actually keep track of the number of schools I applied to, it was up to 20.
Hmm.
Uh, and this is still different from now note, it's only one school I eventually paid application for out of all these. So it was all strictly based on application fee waivers. So in terms of that, if these schools are like still different from the cold emails I sent, because the cold email is just to basically get the attention of a professor, not really the school. So yeah. So regarding how I shortlisted a school, I basically there's this website, the Higher Times, or the Higher Education it's THE, the Times Higher Education or something like that, that basically give you the list of very prestigious university all around the world. So I had to make a list, and particularly I made a list consisting of three options, in which I have one, top schools which include for me my top schools included Carnegie Mellon, Harvard, top schools like top-notch schools. Then I have the medium schools in which they are not at the top of the list, or they are not at the down, they are just somewhere in between. I think we should have an idea of what I mean by that. And I have the safe options in which no matter what happens, those schools will give me admission because they are safe schools. That's why we call them safe schools. So they don't receive a lot of application in a year. But some of these things you'll find out from when you Google or browse and stuff like that. You just look at the ranking. The lesser the ranking, of course, which means that a lot of people will not apply to that. So that's how I was able to filter out my the schools and made the list. And I like when I made the list, then for each of those schools on the list, I still kept track of in case any one of them will be offering the application fee waivers. And the school I am currently was on that list. And even though they offered application fee waiver, later did not offer it for some reason. So at the end of the day, the school I am currently is still the only school I eventually had to pay fee application fee for, because as of that point, my advisor already gave me a go ahead that I can apply. So I think did I answer the questions?
Yes, very
All right.
well. Very well. Thank you so much.
It's my,
Uh, I don't know how much time you have, and there are other questions here in the chat. Even me, I have one more question, but I can read out other questions depending on your time because
yeah, I still
yeah.
have time. I'm just waiting for an email. So once I receive the email, I have to pop
Okay.
off. But I still have a lot of time for now.
Okay, thank you very much. So, some of the questions in the chat: can someone get a fully funded PhD coming from a pure arts and humanities background, like philosophy? Can someone get a fully funded scholarship for literature in English and measurement and evaluation? What other question? Then my own, what was the content of your cold email? I think somebody said, can you submit the application before sending the code email? So if you
Okay.
attend to this month, I think that will be
Yeah.
fine for now.
Okay. So in terms of code, okay, so let me start in terms of fully funded admissions to like
Mm.
humanities and philosophy. Yes, you can.
Mm.
And I'm not talking out of generally, I'm talking out of I know people that have, although we may need to do more work than people in STEM oriented courses. And even in STEM oriented courses, people in like basics, is it basic science, like chemistry, physics, there's a lot of funding in chemistry and physics than when you want to compare it to some other STEM field. So of course, the summary is that you just need to do the work. So yes, there is. You just need to search more, look for more professors, look for more schools, and you'll be able to find that. I mean, you'll be able to find professors that are in your field of interest and apply to them. So I think the second question was about the content of the code email. So I'll just briefly go over the content. Now, this is not exactly what I wrote, but of course it's just a skeleton. So if I remember well, I put my strong points forward first. So I started by saying the school, and for me, I had a very strong CGPA and transcript. So that was my first selling point, in which that was the first thing I put in the first sentence. I introduced myself. I am this, a graduate from computer science with a this GPA from school. Then another strong point I have as a top then was that I published a paper about two of them, but one of them was published in a very good conference back in Nigeria. So what I did was that was like my second selling point. But before that, I then told my advisor my interest, which was I have interest in looking at artificial cybersecurity and artificial intelligence and looking at how to apply security to artificial intelligence. And in addition, I have published this so work, which is just still presenting my strong points forward. Then I went ahead. Of course, that is, if you look at the structure, is already giving the advisor the a sense of who I am, which is that okay, I have this strong point, and then I have a strong background, and then I've actually even done this. And then from there, I went ahead to just link up the interest of my advisor with my interest, which probably it's something like looking at your profile, I see you've worked on so, and this perfectly aligns with my interest as I want to believe that what my interest is being artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, it aligns well with your interest. So it was at the very end, I linked up his own interest with my interest and ended it with I'm ready to provide additional information. Uh, for some ones, I directly sent my transcript and CV along, but some people will argue that it's not advisable because they don't actually know who you are sending it to. Everybody, the email may not be responsive again. But for majority of them, I just put my strong point forward, my strong points, I put them forward, telling them of my transcripts, my publications, my interests, what I've done, and linking it up, and then I send that. So that's like the skeleton structure of my code email. So something you should just note is you should always put your strong point forward. Now, I understand as Nigerians, we can be humble in which we don't want to sell ourselves, but that doesn't work in USA. I'm speaking particularly about USA. In USA, you have to be proud. You have to be proud of yourself. And you have to say what you've done, no matter how small. You have to speak out. You have to be very confident about what you've done, no matter how it may look inside of others. You have to be confident. Your confidence is your selling point. So you have to be confident about even those emails. And even funny story. My friend and I were talking, and suddenly we started reviewing some of our cold emails. And I was reading it, and at this point, the cold email I sent then is not the code email I'll send now. Because the code email I sent then was still in a way kind of me still being humble, reserved, trying to, it's not, I didn't put please, of course, you shouldn't beg also. I didn't put please, I didn't put all those stuffs, but it was still if you read it, it was still more like, oh, I am good, I'm this, there, please accept me. If you read it, of course, like I said, I didn't put please, But now, if I'm to write those email, I will strongly and confidently tell them to their face that if they don't pick me, they are losing a lot. So it's all about interest, and I mean it's all about your confidence and putting your strong point forward. Am I the best in my department, or am I the sorry, I for example, am I the is the person writing the email the best in the department or the best in the school? It may not be, but if that person is more confident than someone that is the best, the person that is more confident will probably get admission first. So always put your first strong point forward with confidence. So that's the point. I think was there one more question after that?
I think that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think please can someone apply for school before sending a cold email to a
Oh, yeah.
professor? Yes, you can. But yes, you can, which I also did. But particularly, something you should keep in mind is that you sending a cold email to an advisor or professor, the professor answering you, and you guys chatting and gisting. I mean, maybe not up to gisting, and then you guys like doing some interviews, and professor saying yes, go ahead and apply. It gives you a greater chance to just first applying and then informing the professor. Of course, sometimes some professor will try to be very diplomatic about these things and will not really want to say something out, like commit themselves. But usually it's advisable for you to, I mean, it can go up both ways, but if you're looking to save on money and save on time on in applying, then cold email is usually like a good way to go, in which you want a professor to give you the go ahead to apply. And then once they are doing their faculty review, the professor can actually stand for you for your profile and tell you that, and tell the review committee that this student, I like him or I like her, and I want to actually work with this student. And of course, if a professor in a school can say that, then definitely you should be rest assured that whenever the professor tells you to apply, you're good. So I think it goes both way, but these are just the things you should put in mind.
Yeah, and I think our brother, the previous speaker, Andunante was also responded in the chat. This question you just answered. He said, let me read it. Dear Tena Peter, please, it's okay to apply before mailing a professor, but it's best to contact a professor before applying. Most times it's the professors that have the funding or scholarship for universities, which is very true. In some cases, few cases, the university has the funding, but even in those cases, you need a professor to accept to supervise you before the school will give you the scholarship. And in most cases, especially in US schools, the professors have grants, they have the funding, and so you have to go through them to get the scholarship. So yeah, that question has been attended to exhaustively. So somebody is raising their hand here, Take Ava, or is it Take? No, Dr. Abraham, Ava. Do you want to please speak up now?
Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Dr. Ibrahim Ava. I'm presently in Canada doing a postdoctorate fellowship with Canadian Center for Particle Accelerator. Yeah, so I just wanted to say something and maybe ask a question on looking for a professor because I followed a similar path when I did my PhD in South Africa. But recently I had some experience based on what some of my students are going through concerning looking for a professor in the US. I discovered that some of the professors, they are snobs. You send them a message, they don't respond. I had such complaints from some of my students because I would advise them to follow the similar thing I did. Go on the university's website, read professor's profile, and then develop a research interest such that there will be an overlapping interest between what you want and what the professor you are looking at for wants. And in most cases, they send such messages and the professors never revert back. And then I also want to ask, since you guys, some of you are the speakers here from the US, what do you advise